Welcome everyone. Public organization and management is what we are going to discuss in today's video. Managing private and public organization. Remember, PA, the public administration, as the process whereby public official employ state agencies, implement and execute government policies determined by the political authorities within the framework of the law, where the efficiency and the use of resources is of secondary importance per se. Public managers and policy making in American system, that the focal point, let me set it in the outset that we will be referring to the American system because you might try to understand what is happening in the most developed country. It need not be the best thing that is happening. You need to adapt it according to your country's requirements, regulation, cultures, customs. But to maintain a neutrality, let me proceed with the American system. Institution and organization created a public services. What are we looking at it? Are we looking for political executives? Are we looking for a central program executive, the central finance, accounting, and appropriation official, or the permanent officials from government? Career civil service employees is what we are looking into it. So we need to understand what public managers are looking forward to. Managers at work, at which level they are working, what is their responsibility, the supervisory, middle management, executive, the work related to the managing of the public policy. Public policy, remember, are to be managed on a three bases. One is identified set of government action directed towards a particular situation which might be perceived by a public or a political activities as problematic. Second, the interpretation of these actions by general public and effective interest groups. The third, consequences of these actions thereof. Managers at work are integral to the process of setting the public policy agenda, specifying the alternatives from which the public choices are to be made, influencing in some cases, making the authoritative choice among these alternatives, and implementing the decision then and thereabout. These are the people who are the managers or who are taking forward the government decision altogether. Their job is no less political than that of the president, senator, judges, lobbyists. They must compete with other agencies and individuals of authority, resources in order to accomplish individual, perhaps organizational goals too. Policy making strategies must weigh in the organizational resources against the special requirements of the various situations. So, management is management. At the end of the day, we need to understand to get to see that your end objective is met. Management is management, that managers in public and in private sector are equivalent, requiring more or less the same skill, knowledge. However, their distinction is substantial. They include differences in ownership, purposes of organization, relations to the organizations, to its environment, scope and continuity of executive decision making, structures of the organization authority thereby. Private sector leaves only the most demanding and unprofitable work to the public sector. Any public agencies is accountable to multiple sources of oversight. And since responsibility far exceeds of control, management must take place in open and subject to a constant public scrutiny, second guessing as the case might be. Unique features of public management. Managers in public sectors require broader base of knowledge and need a different perspective. Public entities are employing a variety of independent third parties to help perform public duties, grants, contract, franchisee, lease agreements, and other mechanisms have created a new coordination problem for the public manager. The lines of authority that were once very clear are now absolutely broken and blurred. Third, parties may be disinterested servants of the public, or they may set out to steal the public blind. Accountability is harder to maintain. Oversight is absolutely very difficult. Robert Rector points out that public managers must select among the policy goals based on their competing social values and philosophy. A function that simply does not exist in the job of a private sector executive. In private sector, management goals are given to you. In public sector, the essence of management is selection of the goals. Since many of the groups will contest these goals, groups that have the constitutional and political right to help shape them. The job of a public manager is much more complex, much more demanding. What about the policy making and policy management in USA? Policy making should not obscure the policy managers, or should I say the public managers' responsibility to managing a difficult policy making process. Decision occurs not only at one point but at many settings with many actors in play. Kinden demonstrate that public policy making is most serendipitous results of three types of activity, which he calls streams, conduct independently by several sets of individuals per se, several sets of groups and organizations who are at most loosely connected. The first type or stream of activities is designed to focus the public and the individual policy makers on a particular public domain problems, getting attention for the public by reporting social data like unemployment figures, like staging focus events, generating feedback about existing government program thereby. The private citizen, the SIGs, should I say self special interest groups, elected official at different levels, public managers engage a problems identification activities. Independently, they work to bring the need of the government actions on a specific problem to the attention of the public official. Another set of activities that takes place concurrently but independently to get these issues on the governmental agenda, which are political in nature. Primary participants are the most visible political actors at appropriate levels of government. These would include governors, state legislature, media, important interest groups, and senior public managers. Within a framework of the existing political mood, dynamic of framework, interest group cloud, a temporary consensus is achieved through bargaining. These visible political actors decide what problems are important enough to be addressed through formal governmental actions. These issues constitute the governmental agenda altogether. A third stream involves the work of a career public managers, academics, researchers, and consultants with the special interest groups, if I may say so. Independently, they develop alternative solutions to the policy, problems to the government agenda. They proceed by suggesting through policy analysis paper, public pronouncement, private endeavors, a variety of policy options to resolve the problem. They use rational argumentation to support their proposed solution. All these three streams do not occur in logical, ordered fashion. Although they occur randomly, it is, however, when they come together simultaneously that the public policy results. The congruency requires an opportunity or a window for advocates to push their policy alternatives. Events involving either problem or politically activity open window per se. A new problem occurs. It seems to create an opportunity to attach an already developed solution for it. Or such event in political streams as turnover of elected officials, swings of the national mood, or vigorous lobbying might create opportunities to push some problems and proposal to the fore and dampen the chances to highlight other problems, perhaps other proposals too. Making and managing policies under these circumstances is very complicated. Politically, legally, independent individuals and groups separately pursue their own interest through various kind of action and public policy results. A public manager cannot control these processes. To obtain a favored policy decision in such a process, a public manager must attempt to influence the varied forces involved and must take advantages of every windows of opportunities. Influencing these forces is primarily a political task, a matter of using political skills, organizational resources to affect the environment of managing the seams of the system, the relationship between career and appointed officials, legislator, executive, managers, public level of government and public and private organization. Also the third party arrangement, if I may add. Public managers are not simply passive instruments in policy making. They work actively in establishing the goals for public policy in their areas and to push those goals among those who share responsibility for public policy making. Public managers seek some ends, pursue some version of public interest, and what guides this pursuit, what norms form the basis for philosophy of management is to be understood. A philosophy of management contains a set of principles. First principle that suggests what good policy is all about. It comprises a view of human nature, a view of social improvement, overall betterment for the society, a view of appropriate role of government in the society. Not surprisingly, disagreement occurs over these things. Public choices. Theorists contend that the individuals are rational actors who calculate the cost and benefit of every option facing them, then pursue what is in their own best interest. Societal improvement comes when the policy maximizes the net benefit of individual involvement. They see government intervention in the decision of individual as appropriate only under two conditions: when the free market fails to provide the required goods, or when it produces undesirable distribution of goods and services in the society. This philosophy dominates the contemporary public policy making. It has a value in guiding public decisions. First, the assumption that individuals in large and heterogeneous society will pursue various contradictory interests. Second, it directs the policymakers to practical question on issues of policies and equally practical answer thereby. Finally, these premises are sufficient neutral that the policies derived from them can get can gain a broad assent, thus avoiding conflict based on solely ideological or personal rancor. Nevertheless, self-interest groups determined by analyzing cost and benefits of varying positions of specific issues is not a predominant motivator of an individual. The public choice model has shortcomings. As a philosophy guiding managerial behaviors in policy, issues like environmental protection, abortion, health insurances, energy policy to name some behavior is public spirited and that it shows concerns for others, which should motivate the behaviors of the public managers thereby. Using the public interest for managerial behavior changes the criteria rather than using the maximized benefit. Net benefit rules managers must evaluate the option against the standards of general ideas about the right and wrong. Abstract standard which the managers address this question is: what sort of ideas are important? How can such idea be sustained? It is also a standard fraught with dangers, since it may involve choosing among the values that individual holds dear and which are emotionally charged. So, arguing that public managers have a duty to pursue the public interest does not imply that they have a right to develop their own conception of what public interest is all about. Public interest is largely articulated through legislative mandates, prior policies, explicit, tacit instructions from people who hired the appointed public managers. Public managers have an obligation to respect the process that legitimates their actions, like the democratic process, and to use those powers to accomplish the public purpose in the first place. They are obliged to treat their employees and colleagues with respect, with honesty, with fairness. The simple duty to do good, remember, doing good is important for the sake of public, are what somewhat ambiguous. Critics of public interest, again, public interest approach, argue that specification of appropriate ideas to guide public action can lead to disunity within society as individuals, as groups enter into dispute over passionately held views. Even the great tricks that comes with government characterizations of situation, of actions, of institution cannot justify a complete abandonment of the expressed action by public official. By words and actionable action official, the manager must reach teach social values, not only reach but also teach social virtues and value of institution, rules in general terms. They must also be willing to apply the general lesson to concrete situation. So, in conclusion, public managers are significant. Public managers are independent actors in political process, yet their legitimacy, yet their choice of goals are questioned by a variety of individuals and institutions with independent basis of power and a big stake in the outcome. Yet no one individual or group has preponderance of influence or authority. So remember, to be successful, managers must adopt a straightforward political approach, strengthen their resources, as well as their negotiating position with other major policy makers. The process involves many participants, many ambiguities, Managers must do their work in context of the value system that reinforces the democratic process. With this, I come to an end of this video. Thank you for watching the same.